Ever feel like knowing what the bad guys are thinking before they even do? Kind of like having a crystal ball for cyber attacks.
Uh-huh. Yeah, well, that's the whole idea behind a red team, right?
And today, we're going deep on the leaders of these teams. Think it's just about being a coding whiz. Not so fast.
Definitely not.
Our source today, this LinkedIn expert, lays out why being a red team leader is about way more than just tech skills.
It's really about strategy, big picture thinking, like you said, anticipating threats before they become a headline.
Which is exactly what someone gearing up for a cybersecurity role needs to know, right?
Absolutely. It's a competitive field out there.
So let's break down this source. They call it offensive security. Does that mean these guys are like digital vigilantes?
Not quite. It means understanding how attackers think. What are their motives, their tactics? Got to get inside their heads.
So like in those heist movies, you've got to know the security system, the guards routine, even the air vents.
Exactly. But instead of a bank, it could be a company's network, a government agency, you name it.
Okay, so they're mapping out attacks, but with a good purpose. And this source keeps mentioning the maturity of a security program.
Right. So it's not just about finding vulnerabilities. It's about building a system that can withstand even sophisticated attacks.
And to do that, you need a leader who gets the whole picture. Speaking of which, this source really surprised me. It's not all about hacking skills.
Nope, not at all. They emphasize the importance of things like knowing industry regulations, understanding the defensive side of cybersecurity.
Which, let me guess, makes you way more valuable because you see the weak points someone else might miss.
Exactly. Think of it like this. If you understand how a system is supposed to work, you're better equipped to find where it can be exploited.
Makes total sense. So if our listener wants to stand out, they can't just be a code slinger. They need to be well-rounded.
100%. The source actually dives into something called the NIST cybersecurity framework. Really important stuff.
NIST. Fill us in.
So NIST sets standards for managing risk. It's like a blueprint for organizations to build their cybersecurity defenses.
And a red team leader who understands that blueprint. That's gold.
Exactly. They can then design attack simulations that are incredibly realistic and target those specific areas that need strengthening.
And they mentioned something else that sounds intense. MITRE, ATT, and CK. Like an attack plan, but for the good guys.
Kind of, yeah. Imagine a database of every cyber attack tactic and technique out there.
That's MITRE, ATT, and CK. It's like having a playbook, but for cyber warfare.
Exactly. Red team leaders use this to design their simulations and see exactly where an organization is most vulnerable.
So it's not just about being a hacker, it's about being a strategist, a researcher.
And a leader, which we'll dive into more after the break.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're getting into the nitty-gritty of what it takes to lead a red team. And this source, they really hit on something crucial. It's not always going to be smooth sailing, right?
Oh, absolutely not. Cybersecurity is a constantly shifting landscape.
So you're telling me being a red team leader means you're not just managing projects, but people and your own learning curve.
Exactly. Got to be adaptable. You're constantly facing new threats, new technologies.
Sounds intense, but also kind of exciting. Like you never know what each day will bring.
It definitely keeps you on your toes. And that's where the human element comes in.
Yeah, this source talks about building a positive team culture. I mean, that's important in any field, but here it feels crucial.
It really is. Cybersecurity can be high pressure, demanding. Burnout is a real concern.
So a good leader doesn't just build a team, but a support system.
Right, where people can share knowledge, learn from each other, even blow off steam together.
And our listener out there, prepping for a cybersecurity role, this is key. Think about the kind of environment where you thrive.
Absolutely, because this source argues a supportive team isn't just nice to have, it's essential for doing your best work, especially in this field.
And they gave some cool examples of how red teams can kind of nurture that passion for cybersecurity.
Things like capture the flag competitions.
Yeah.
Or contributing to open source projects.
It's like, yeah, you're on a team, but you're also part of a bigger community, right?
Exactly. Sharing knowledge, pushing each other to learn and grow.
And speaking of skills, there's one thing this source mentions that goes beyond the purely technical market vision. What's that all about?
Yeah. This is what separates the really good red team leaders from the exceptional ones. It's about understanding the business side of things.
So it's not just about breaking into systems, it's about understanding the why behind those systems.
Precisely. Think about it. If you're testing the security of an online bank, having market vision means understanding the fintech landscape.
The latest trends, the regulatory changes.
Exactly. You're not just finding vulnerabilities, you're anticipating them before they even become a thing.
So we're talking about staying ahead of the game, which in cybersecurity is no easy feat, right?
Oh, you got that right. It's constantly evolving.
In this source, they kind of hint at this. But thinking about the future of red teaming, it's like, how do you even prepare for what you don't know is coming?
That's the million-dollar question. But that's where this market vision comes in.
Right. It's like having a sixth sense for where things are going, knowing what new tech is emerging, what the bad guys might do with it.
Exactly. And the source talked about attack strategies, remember? It's like a coach prepping for a big game.
Trying to predict the opponent's moves. But in this case, the opponent might be using tech that hasn't even been invented yet.
And those opponents, they're not messing around. Nation-state actors, cybercrime rings.
Yeah.
These guys have resources.
It's like a whole different league.
Absolutely. We're talking AI-powered attacks, quantum computing. The threats are getting more sophisticated by the day.
So our future red team leaders, they need to be, what, almost future-proof.
In a way, yeah, they need that adaptability, that constant drive to learn and evolve as the threats do. And this source, they emphasize continuous learning big time.
Makes sense. Can't rely on what you knew yesterday when today's a whole new ballgame.
Exactly. Gotta stay sharp. But with all this talk about tech, let's not forget the human side of things. You mentioned soft skills being crucial for a red team leader.
For sure. Because even if you got all the fancy tools in the world, you're still dealing with people, right?
100%. You're trying to break into their systems, expose vulnerabilities. That requires trust.
It's like being a doctor, right? You got to deliver the tough news in a way that's clear, empathetic.
Exactly. You need that human touch, that ability to communicate complex information effectively.
And that's only going to become more important as cybersecurity gets more complex.
Absolutely. Bridging that gap between technology and human understanding, that's key.
So, to sum it up for our listener who's got their sights set on a cybersecurity career, being a red team leader, it's not just about being a tech whiz.
Nope. It's about strategy, communication, leadership. It's about thinking like the enemy, but also working with your team to build a stronger defense.
It's about protecting people, businesses, really, our whole digital way of life.
Then realizing that in this field, the learning never stops.
And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder the ever-evolving world of cybersecurity. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious.